Hello everybody, welcome back to Expert Examiner IELTS. My name is Glyn and in this video we're going to look at more IELTS Writing Task 2 feedback. Let's jump straight in. So, what do we always do? We always read the question. We want to understand what the main theme is and what the question itself is. We know in IELTS Writing Task 2 we have a variety of different question types. We could have for example, could be a lot of people believe this, other people believe this, discuss both sides, give your own opinion, or this is an opinion, what do you think, or to what extent do you agree, or what are the advantages and disadvantages of this. So we should always be mindful of the question type. A lot of IELTS Task 2 essays follow a very similar structure, but there are some small differences in the way that we approach these different question types. So anyone preparing for IELTS Writing Task 2 should be familiar with the different question types and the different approaches that we take to those. Anyway, let's take a look at our question today. So, when we meet someone for the first time, let me just make that a little bigger for you. When we meet someone for the first time, we generally decide very quickly what kind of person we think they are and if we like them or not. So what is the theme here? First impressions, judging people, social issues. So broadly, it's about social issues, or specifically, it's about first impressions, judging people, making instinctive judgments about them. Is this a good or a bad thing? So in short, is it good that when we meet people for the first time, we make fast impressions of who they are, whether we like them or not? Or is that a bad thing? Again, with this, is this a good thing or a bad thing? Just choose one. Try not to choose both. I don't think you'll have enough words to really fully develop the idea if you say, well, it could possibly be a good thing, but in other cases it could be a bad thing. Just choose good thing or bad thing. So, what am I expecting from what am I expecting from the introduction here? Well, I'd like to have general statements about things. First impressions are something that are unavoidable, or it is purely it's purely instinctive that when we meet people for the first time, we make judgments about their character, or a number of factors can lead to the judgments we make about people when we meet them for the first time, such as their appearance or the way they speak or the way they dress or whatever. So I like to have one general statement about the subject, the theme. I like to have some reference to the question, the debate. In this case, is this a good thing or a bad thing? And then also I want to know the candidate's position. I don't need to know the reasons why they hold the position, but in the introduction, I want to know what their position is. So let's see if we get that in this student's writing. So it is very common that we judge strangers as personalities. Cool. There shouldn't be a comma here. There are rules about when we use and when we don't use a comma with these things, who we have never met. These are called relative clauses. Now, sometimes we put these relative clauses between commas, and sometimes we don't use commas with them. In this case, this is something we call a defining relative clause, and we don't use commas here. If you don't know what those rules are, learn them. Okay. So it's very common that we judge strangers' personalities who we have never met before on our first encounter. This looks like a very direct paraphrase. When we meet someone for the first time, we generally decide very quickly. Yeah, it's a direct paraphrase of the question. I don't like these overly direct paraphrases of the text in the question. For part 1, task 1, I think it's fine. For task 2, I don't think we need it, but okay. Some people believe this opinion can be fair and accurate. Which opinion? Which opinion? Not this opinion, but these opinions. So the judgments that we make about strangers, right? So some people believe that these impressions or that these judgments or these opinions, not just this opinion, but when we meet people, as is mentioned here, we make it's not mentioned here, but we make a variety of judgments about a person. So these opinions, but okay, this first impression can be fair and accurate. Okay. In contrast, I believe that this impression can be rushed. I mean, the impression is always rushed, right? If it's a first impression. So I don't know if it's a problem that it's rushed, because all first impressions are kind of rushed by their nature of being first impressions. So rushed isn't the problem, and incorrect. Now that's a problem. If your impression of a person is incorrect, sure, that's a problem. So fine, but rushed, no. In many occasions, first with occasion we use the preposition on, as Google is telling us, and also there's a misspelling with occasion, so double C but one S, as Google will tell you there, double C, one S, occasions. Okay, but in general the introduction is okay. It has a general statement. We have some reference to the question, and we have we know the candidate's position, the writer's position. That's good. Some of the language is sloppy on many occasions, misspelling with occasion, and also some of the ideas, like I believe this impression can be rushed, and also some believe this opinion. Well, I think this impression or these opinions makes it more clear. So there are some problems, but in general we are okay. Looking at the balance, I like the balance. Just looking at the signposting language. Firstly, cool. Furthermore, to start the body paragraph, cool. In conclusion, to start the conclusion. All of that is good stuff. I like the layout. The introduction is shorter than the body paragraphs. The conclusion is also shorter than the body paragraphs. All good stuff. Just checking the word count. 265, fine. Okay, so let's get into body one, where body one, we're going to probably get this first impressions can be rushed. Probably we're going to get a development of this. So firstly, people may behave, and again, I want to know your position in the introduction, but I don't need to know why you take that position in the introduction. You know, it's fine. It's enough to say this essay will outline the reasons why first impressions are a bad thing or are not effective or something like this. And that leads nicely then into firstly. But okay, firstly, people may behave in an unusual manner on a particular day for many different reasons. Okay, I'm a little bit confused here. People may behave in an unusual manner. Maybe to be more specific, could say the people who we judge, right? People who we meet. And that then makes the reader understand your idea more. People may behave. Who are we talking about? The people who we meet, or the people who make the judgments? I think you mean the people who we meet here, and so you should specify that. So this noun group is a little ambiguous. People may behave in an unusual manner on a particular day for many different reasons. I think we have all. So in academic text, appealing to the reader, I think we this personal, like first person pronoun, I think we have all experienced, feels a little too personal, a little too informal for an academic style, but okay. I think we have all is probably a more natural word order. We have all experienced this day. I guess the day where we are behaving in an unusual manner. Okay, that makes kind of sense. This day before, one way or another, it feels informal. So one way or another is a very nice expression. I just don't know if it's precise. I don't think it's good for academic writing because it's not very precise. For instance, I like this for instance instead of for example. For instance is a wonderful alternative. Cool. One of my closest friends okay, it's a bit personal. Now, I know it's written there, right? Give reasons for your answer and include any relevant examples from your own knowledge or experience. But I think relying on personal anecdotes isn't very persuasive. In some cases it can be, but I think in this case, I don't know. But let's see. For instance, one of my closest friends treated me poorly when I first met him, but after we got along, After we got along? Maybe later when we became friends, or later when we started getting along. I don't know, but after we got along. He explained to me that we don't need a comma here. So the fact that we have... So because we have these commas in this introduction, people who we have never met before, and we have this comma after that, explained to me that I'm going to guess that this speaker is a Russian speaker, because that looks like some of the punctuation rules of Russian. Now, I don't know if the candidate is Russian here or not. I took this text from an anonymous user in a Facebook group. I have got the candidate's position. I have got the candidate's permission to use their text. But if you are a Russian speaker, keep in mind, a lot of our punctuation rules with commas, they are the same, but there are a lot of cases where they're different. So just because your language uses commas here doesn't always mean that English will use commas the same way. So we don't need this comma after that. Explain to me that. Anyway, after we got along, he explained to me that on this day he was anxious as one of his relatives had a motor vehicle accident and was hospitalized for life-threatening injuries. Okay, it's kind of relevant to the point, but we are moving off on a tangent now. We're focusing on, do we need all of these details? I don't know. Anyway, if I made a final judgment, third conditional should be used here because we're talking about the past. If I had made a final judgment about him on this day, we would not be friends now. So mixed conditional, right? If I had made in the past, we would not be friends now in the present. So we didn't quite get that conditional, but not a bad attempt. So I feel like, personal anecdotes aren't very persuasive in general, but there is a central point, right? People behave in strange ways sometimes, and so that leads to us making incorrect judgments. Fine. What are we going to get in body 2? I'm not sure, because body 1 dealt with this idea that judgments could be incorrect. Maybe we'll get more development of this. Furthermore, some people are not extroverts. They may find a lot of difficulty. So not find a lot of difficulty, have a lot of difficulty. So you can find it difficult to do something, or you can have a lot of difficulty doing something. So they may have a lot of difficulty acting in a friendly way with total strangers. True. Surprisingly, introverts can be extremely amicable afterwards. I don't know if that's a surprise, is it? But okay. For example, my older daughter is not that good in getting along, not that good at. Again, in Russian, I guess they use хорошо, good in, but in English be good at. So my older daughter is not that good at, so again, it's not very academic in style. A better alternative, a more academic alternative, maybe my older daughter faces difficulties when she meets new people. That's fine, but she's not that good in getting along with. Okay, get along with is a nice construction. Don't know if it's very academic, but it's good collocation. Getting along with people she does not know. In contrast, she is always deemed by her classmates as caring. So with deemed to be, she's deemed to be caring. I don't know if she's deemed as caring. Sounds just a bit strange, but okay, I like this passive reporting verb. She's always deemed by her classmates as caring and loving friend. So friend is a singular countable noun. We need some article or possessive or determiner deemed as a caring and loving friend. You might not know all of the rules of articles, but you should at least know that if nouns are singular and countable, they always must have some pre-modifier, some word before them. A friend, the friend, my friend. But in this one, we don't have that. We just have as caring and loving friend. Adjectives are pre-modifiers, but not enough. We need some grammatical word Okay, and also her siblings tend to go for her. Go for her, asking for help. Ugh, ugh. Her siblings tend to go to her for help and advice. They tend to go to her for help and advice whenever they face any hardship or problems. So, again, hardship, singular noun here because it's uncountable, but problem is a countable noun, and again, any problems. I guess face any problem could be used. If they face any problem is a singular noun, okay, fine. Hardship or problem, fine. But okay, how persuaded am I by that paragraph? Well, we get a lot of information about the candidate's elder daughter or older daughter. I guess too much information. All we see is that, you know, her siblings like her, okay. She has difficulty making friends, okay. And there is an implied idea that, you know, my daughter is very, very nice, but because she's an introvert, people might judge her as not being nice. But that's not mentioned in the paragraph. It's not mentioned, you know, explicitly that because my daughter is an introvert, people can make incorrect assumptions or judgments about her based on her introversion. I've added that, reading it, putting the pieces together using logic. I've worked out that that's what the candidate means, but the candidate hasn't said that in their writing, and so that's a problem. Be clear about your ideas. Okay, in conclusion, making a decision about one's character, like I like this one's, about one's character too early may be intuitive, but in my opinion, is not the right thing to do. Whether a person is having a bad day or facing some difficulty in mingling with strangers can make you misjudge who they are. Okay, so conclusion is short, snappy, summarizes the point. It's a little basic, but summarizes the point reasonably well. Okay, let's get to some marks. Task achievement. Do we have enough for a 6 for task achievement? So there is a central theme to each paragraph. Fine. How convincing? The introduction is fine. It's enough. Maybe enough for a 6. Conclusion is maybe enough for a 6. But the key points, I think, because you've relied on anecdotal evidence too much and you've given maybe too many details, too many personal details, you know, about the friend who had a relative who had a motor vehicle accident, who was hospitalized and they had life-threatening injuries, all of those irrelevant details just pulls it down for me for a 5. And the same thing with your old elder daughter, who, you know, I'm sure she's a wonderful, nice, kind person. She sounds great, but, you know, there are too many details about your elder daughter here, so not really relevant. So task achievement 5. Coherence and cohesion. So I like the cohesive patterns. In conclusion, signposting language. Furthermore, firstly, great. We get those right at the beginning of each paragraph to let the speaker know this is what we're looking at. Do we get anything else? We have a nice little for instance. That's good. There is a logical flow. Some people are not extroverts. They may find a lot of difficulty. Cool, that makes sense. They links nicely to extroverts. Cool. For example, instead of for instance, we have nice variety there. Good stuff. We do have a which clause, but with incorrect, faulty punctuation. So decent for cohesion. Coherence. So there were some parts where I felt like I had to read a couple of times to understand what you were talking about. This one, people may behave in an unusual manner. So as a reader, I had to think, well, which people? Are we talking about the people making the judgment, or are we talking about the people who receive the judgment? It's not clear there. I have to understand that. In the second part, where you don't tell me that, you know, people judge your daughter incorrectly for being an introvert. So coherence is lost a little bit there because I have to fill in that gap. But the language is generally coherent. Certainly enough for a 6 for coherence and cohesion. Lexical resource. Okay, so we get some nice collocation. Making a decision, fine. Intuitive is a nice adjective here. Facing some difficulty, that's a good collocation. Mingling with, good vocab there. Feels a little bit informal, mingling with. Misjudge, nice use of the prefix mis, meaning to do something erroneously, to do something incorrectly. Cool. In a friendly way, so nice adverbial phrase there. Cool. Treated me poorly, I like this. Treated me plus adverb. When I first met him, okay, kind of going towards grammar. Life-threatening injury, so even though the detail isn't fine, the compound adjective is nice. So I think there is enough vocab in there for a 7. There is high-level vocab in there, some awareness of style. It's not very formal, it's not very academic in style, it's kind of a little bit informal, but not overly. But 7, certainly enough for that. Grammatical range and accuracy, let's just call it GRA. Grammatical range and accuracy. So we do have complex sentences. Do we have many of them? Okay, so we have a complex sentence at the beginning with this embedded clause. Fine, cool. Any others? When I first met him, cool. We get that subordinate clause. We get a conditional thing here with multiple clauses. So, okay, we have a variety of clause structures. We have simple and complex sentences. Cool. Do we have any range of structures? So not just sentences, but do we have any range of structures? Well, we missed this missed conditional. That one was missed. Any other examples? There's a lot of simple, present simple here. Don't think, is there anything that's not present simple here? Treated me, past simple. Okay, is there anything that's not simple aspect here? Is there any continuous or any perfect aspect in this text? No. So limited with aspect. Now that's not always a problem. Sometimes some tasks require present simple only and past simple only, perhaps. Any other range of structures? Any other grammar that stands out as being decent? Gerund after a preposition. Okay, not that impressive, but okay. She is always deemed. So there is some passive voice in there, so we get a mix of active and passive. So a bit of range, but not a huge amount of range. And then just thinking about mistakes. Okay, we get spelling mistakes, but that's about vocab. On many occasions, it's probably closer to vocab too. So punctuation is more about grammar, so that's a mistake there. Any other critical mistakes? Yeah, there was that one sentence that was really strange in there. Also, her siblings tend to go for her asking for help. That's grammatically strange. They tend to go to her for help. Okay, but accuracy is generally decent, so I think enough for a 6. I don't think there's a high enough range of structures for a 7. So you know that mixed conditional could have given me good evidence to say, ooh, that's a nice bit of grammar. That's a nice bit of B2 high level grammar that you've used there. But you didn't quite get that third conditional. But okay, overall, what do we have? 5, 6, 7, 6. So overall, we get 6. Band 6, B2, upper intermediate, right in the middle of upper intermediate. So I think that's fair, not enough for advanced, but a decent attempt. I like the paragraph structure, it's logical. Each paragraph has a central theme. The arguments are not very persuasive. They rely too much on personal anecdote. Some of the arguments aren't very clear. The grammar is decent, nice range of sentences, but not a nice range of structures, using mostly present simple, bit of active, bit of passive. Yeah, things to work on. Of course, task achievement 5, learn about academic writing. I know it sounds so obvious. Task 2 in IELTS is an academic essay. So think about, the type of language that you use in conversational English and the type of language that you use in academic English. If you don't know, think about your own language, the type of language you use with your friends, the type of language you might use at university in a written text. Learning about academic writing in your own language will help you a lot when it comes to writing an academic text in English. So, yeah, what makes an argument? How do we present, explain, and support an argument? That will help you a lot to get to a higher level. Hopefully you found this useful. I'll leave it there. In the month of June, I am doing free writing feedback, and I also have a little bit of time to do some free practice speaking tests too. So if you're interested in that, feel free to get in touch. All information is written below. But I'll leave it there. Thank you very much, and ciao.